Hello, I'm Chaplain R.T. Byram, and I'm speaking from the studios of Through the Gathering Storm Productions. Here, our staff keeps watch on the deteriorating conditions of the world through the window of biblical scripture and prophecy. This series of short programs is based on articles that I have recently published in the American Patriot News. You know, we live in two Americas. This constitutional republic, this land of the free, the home of the brave, one nation under God, is tragically being divided by those who, for the most part, have never paid the price for our freedoms. As a result, we're straddling a divide that is tearing our country in two. Why is this happening? And what can we do to save our beloved land? Step outside of your home or office and just look around. Depending on where you're standing, you may see in the distance mountains, lakes, fields, oceans, or nearby might be the homes of your hard-working neighbors or buildings containing the business engines of freedom and economy. If you're a conservative, you're filled with pride for America, a nation that's dedicated to and blessed abundantly by the only true God, the one who created and owns all things. On the other hand, if you're a liberal, socialist, progressive, or communist, basically the same ideology under different names, you're filled with class envy, a sense of entitlement, which means having a right to other people's hard-earned wealth. It's an upside-down concern for the environment over people and a morality based on situation ethics. How did this great melting pot become divided back into separate races and languages, morals, and goals? Well, we could begin back in Genesis when Satan injected his corruption into the first couple. He caused them to be sent from the perfect Garden of Eden out into what chapter 3 described as cursed ground filled with thorns and thistles to be worked by the sweat of man's brow. As human rulers began to govern, greed, lust, and cruelty separated the leaders from the followers. Wars sprung up like poisonous weeds. Envy and immorality became the new norm in nation after nation. And then in 1492, a small flotilla of ships carried pilgrims away from the English monarchy into a new land with opportunity for a fresh start far from the east. These hardy pilgrims carved a living from the new land, established a religion free from interference from government, and survived hard winters and persecution from England. They were determined to create and maintain a nation of free men and women. The newly established Congress of the United States wrote the first Declaration of Independence and then framed the Constitution. And to address the needs of our growing nation, 27 amendments have been added over the ensuing years. The America that conservatives know comes from understanding and valuing the uniqueness of their founding documents, and knowing that much of our unparalleled growth and success is rooted in the wisdom and protection that they afford us. We also understand that the inclusion of God in the thinking and the actions of our founders sets us apart from the nations and the peoples that preceded us today. Conservatives see an American whose flag has been drenched in the sweat and blood of soldiers and hard-working men and women. We see an America that rushes to the side and the aid of countries that are stricken with natural disasters. We see an America that fights side by side with nations threatened by repressive and despotic leaders. Conservatives see an America where anyone, regardless of race, creed, or gender, can go as far as their abilities and their desires allow. Our entire history is filled with such examples. But things begin to change in 1914 with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife Sophie, the Duchess of Hohenberg. It set off World War I and it involved all the world's greatest powers assembled in two opposing alliances. The rise of Hitler and other tyrannical dictators was just the beginning, when really bad apples began to appear in the world's barrel. Even today, just as Satan tempted Eve with forbidden fruit, so he is influencing leaders of weak character and morals to pollute and destroy America, the world's longest lasting republic. Under socialist governing, even the once proud communities like Detroit are rotting. Greed for power and wealth are more important to the bad apples than honest opportunities for individual prosperity under moral leadership. Isms like Marxism, communism, and socialism reward tyranny by crushing those who are caught napping. In America, the once proud Democratic Party has become tainted by those isms, which hides its true identity behind titles like liberalism and progressivism. The America that liberal leaders know comes from cementing their power by running roughshod over constitutional law and religious freedom. They see nothing wrong with the killing of 55 million babies through abortion, or the legitimizing of same-sex couples, or the attack on the same God and faith that formed the very foundation of this land. Liberals see an America of two classes, the entrenched ruling class and the worker drones that serve and support them. There is no concern from such leadership for the welfare of those who keep the wheels turning, who pay the taxes, who exercise their faith, and who actually earn their bread. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need was Karl Marx's slogan. Decades have proven that when those who work are outnumbered by those who take, then the system will always collapse. Until that occurs, such thinking always results in misery, poverty, and often death. Our nearest example is Cuba, before and after the Castro Revolution. Successful businesses catered to the Cubans who had money to spend, as well as travelers drawn to that nearby island for its many tourist attractions. Then communism under Fidel Castro destroyed the economy, broke the morale of the once proud Cuban people. How ironic that Castro, now in his late 80s, recently admitted that communism was not good for Cuba. Is the poison of socialism an unstoppable force? Not if conservatives band together by participating in patriotic organizations, by being seen and heard at local government meetings, by voting for moral leaders, by encouraging their churches to equip the congregations to make God-centered choices, and by always exercising your individual right to vote intelligently. You can be certain that God has been with us from our nation's birth. So if we can't find him today, it wasn't him who moved. God is waiting to hear from us. How badly do you want America you love to rise again? 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Are you an American who is proud of this land? Perhaps even one of the many who fought to keep it free from tyranny? If so, then as Winston Churchill said, never, never, in nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force, never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy. Churchill was right to describe the enemy as having only an apparently overwhelming might. The ultimate power is in the hand of God, and he has promised delivery to those who call on him in faith. Look for our message on the prayer of Daniel to learn how to tap into God's promise of delivery. And please don't miss a single message as we bring the truth of the living Word to a dying world searching for answers. Until then, I'm Chaplain R.T. Byram.